still remember the weight of those words, even decades later. "You should have been a boy, Samantha." My father said it so casually, as if he were commenting on the weather. I was 12 years old, standing in our garage in Columbus, Ohio, holding a wrench I'd borrowed without asking. I'd been trying to fix my bicycle chain, determined to figure it out myself. He walked in, saw me there with grease on my hands, and instead of teaching me or encouraging me, he just sighed and said those 6 words that would echo in my mind for years. "My name is Samantha Chen, and I'm 52 years old." For most of my life, I carried my father's disappointment like a stone in my pocket. He'd wanted a son to take over his automotive repair shop, someone to carry on the Chen family legacy. Instead, he got me, and he never let me forget it. Growing up in Columbus during the 70s and 80s, I watched my father pour his heart into his business. Chen's Auto Repair was his pride and joy, located on a busy corner of High Street. The smell of motor oil and metal became the backdrop of my childhood. I'd sit in the waiting area after school, doing homework while the sound of pneumatic tools and classic rock filled the air. I was fascinated by it all, by the way broken things could be made whole again, by the precision and knowledge it required. But my father barely acknowledged my presence. When customers asked if I'd be joining the family business one day, he'd laugh it off. "She's going to be a teacher or a nurse," he'd say, as if my future were already written. "My nephew Robert will take over when I retire." Robert, who lived in California and had shown zero interest in cars, was somehow more qualified than me simply because of his gender. My mother, Margaret, was softer about it all, but she never contradicted him. She was a second-grade teacher at Indianola Elementary, a kind woman who believed in keeping the peace. "Your father grew up in a different time," she'd tell me gently, but knowing the reason didn't make it hurt any less. I threw myself into school, determined to prove my worth somehow. I excelled in math and science, joined the robotics club, took every shop class my high school offered. I graduated near the top of my class and got accepted to Ohio State University. My father's response was lukewarm at best. "That's nice, Sam," he said, barely looking up from the engine he was working on. I went anyway, working 2 jobs to pay my way through. I studied mechanical engineering, driven by a mixture of genuine interest and the stubborn need to prove him wrong. 4 years later, I graduated with honors. I brought my diploma home, actually excited to show him. Maybe now he'd see that I was capable, that I had value. He glanced at it for maybe 5 seconds. "Well, good luck finding a job," he said. "The real world doesn't care about fancy pieces of paper." Then he went back to reading his newspaper. I stood there in our kitchen, my achievement suddenly feeling worthless in my hands. That night, I made a decision. If he wouldn't acknowledge me, I'd stop trying to win his approval. I'd build my own life, far from his shadow. I took a job at a manufacturing company in Cincinnati, about 100 miles away. It wasn't much at first, just an entry-level position in quality control, but it was mine. I found an efficiency apartment in Northside, a quirky neighborhood full of artists and young professionals. For the first time in my life, I felt like I could breathe. The years passed. I worked my way up, position by position. I became a project manager, then a senior engineer. I met Daniel at a company mixer when I was 31. He was an accountant, steady and kind, with a great sense of humor. We dated for 2 years before getting married at a small ceremony in Cincinnati's Eden Park. My parents came, but my father spent most of the reception checking his phone, probably worried about the shop. Daniel and I built a comfortable life together. We bought a modest house in the suburb of Wyoming with a small garage where I could tinker with projects on weekends. I restored a 1967 Ford Mustang over the course of 3 years, doing all the work myself. It was beautiful when I finished, painted a deep blue that caught the light just right. My father never saw it. We didn't have children. It wasn't really a choice, just something that never happened despite a few years of trying. Daniel was fine with it, said we could have a full life, just the 2 of us. And we did, for a while. We traveled, took up hobbies, made friends. From the outside, everything looked perfect. But somewhere around my 45th birthday, I started feeling restless. The job that had once excited me now felt routine. Daniel seemed content with our life exactly as it was, but I felt like I was slowly disappearing, becoming invisible even to myself. Then, 2 years ago, everything fell apart. Daniel came home on a Wednesday evening in March and told me he'd fallen in love with someone else, a woman from his office. They'd been seeing each other for 6 months. The shock was physical. 6 months? I managed to say. You've been lying to me for 6 months? I didn't want to hurt you, he said. But Amanda and we just connect in a way that feels right. Get out, I finally whispered. Get out of my house. The divorce was finalized 6 months later. Daniel got remarried almost immediately. I threw myself back into work, but my heart wasn't in it anymore. I was 50 years old, alone, and felt like I'd wasted half my life. The house felt enormous and empty. I'd come home to silence, heat up some frozen dinner, and sit in front of the television without really watching anything. My mother called regularly, worried. Come visit us, she'd say. I couldn't face going back to Columbus, though. Back to that house where I'd never been enough. One Saturday morning in November, about 8 months after the divorce was finalized, I was sitting in my kitchen drinking coffee and staring at nothing. Everything felt gray and purposeless. I was scrolling mindlessly through my phone when I came across an advertisement for a local community college class. Auto restoration for beginners. It was starting in January. Something stirred in me, just slightly. I thought about that garage in Columbus, about 12-year-old me with grease on her hands, determined to fix her own bicycle. I thought about all the years I'd spent trying to be what other people wanted. I was 50 years old, and what did I have to show for it? What if I just stopped? Stopped trying to fit into boxes other people had made for me. Stopped waiting for permission to do what I actually wanted. I signed up for the class. The first night of auto restoration class was freezing, that bone-deep cold that comes with Ohio Januaries. The community college was in Norwood, a working-class neighborhood that reminded me a bit of the Columbus streets I'd grown up on. I almost didn't go. I sat in my car in the parking lot for 10 minutes, telling myself this was stupid, that I was too old to be starting something new. But then I remembered my father's face that day in the garage. You should have been a boy. I grabbed my notebook and walked inside. The classroom was actually a large garage space with several vehicle lifts and workbenches. There were about 15 people there, mostly men, but also 3 other women. Our instructor was a woman in her early 40s named Rachel Kowalski, with short gray hair and hands that showed years of working with tools. I don't care if you've never held a wrench before, Rachel said. If you're willing to learn and willing to work, you belong here. This isn't about proving anything to anyone. It's about the satisfaction of taking something broken and making it beautiful again. Something in my chest loosened just slightly. Over the next few weeks, I absorbed everything Rachel taught us. We learned about engine components, bodywork techniques, electrical systems, paint restoration. My engineering background helped with understanding the technical aspects, but there was something different about working with my hands, about the physicality of it all. Rachel noticed my enthusiasm. After class one night in late January, she approached me. You've got a good eye for this, Samantha. Have you ever thought about doing this professionally? I laughed, but it came out bitter. I'm 50 years old and just getting divorced. I think my career-changing days are behind me. Says who? Rachel crossed her arms. I started my shop at 42 after spending 20 years as an elementary school teacher. Best decision I ever made. You're someone who spent her whole life trying to fit into spaces that were too small for her. Maybe it's time to build your own space. Her words stayed with me. I started spending more time in my garage at home, working on the Mustang, taking it apart and putting it back together with new knowledge. Then I started browsing online for other project cars. I found a 1972 Chevrolet Chevelle that needed serious work, bought it for next to nothing, and had it towed to my house. By March, I'd finished the Chevelle. It was gorgeous, a deep burgundy with a completely rebuilt engine. I posted pictures in an online classic car forum just to share my work. Within days, I had messages from people asking if I did restorations for hire. I stared at those messages for a long time. This could just be a hobby, or I called Rachel. How hard is it really to start a restoration business? She laughed, delighted. Depends on how serious you are. You'll need a proper workspace, tools, licensing, insurance. It's not easy, but Samantha, if you want it, I'll help you. Over the next 3 months, Rachel became my mentor and friend. She helped me navigate the business side of things, introduced me to suppliers, taught me about pricing and customer service. I took out a small business loan and rented a garage space in Lockland, a small town just north of Cincinnati. It was perfect, a 2-bay garage with good bones. I named it Phoenix Auto Restoration, because that's what I was doing, rising from the ashes of my old life. The first 6 months were terrifying. I quit my engineering job, burning through savings while waiting for business to pick up. I worked alone, spending 12-hour days sanding, welding, painting, rebuilding. My back ached. My hands were constantly scraped and bruised. But then word started spreading. A client who'd hired me to restore his father's 1965 Thunderbird posted about my work on social media. More inquiries came in. By the end of my first year, I had a waiting list. I hired my first employee in month 14, a young woman named Christina who just graduated from a technical college. She was talented and eager, reminded me a bit of myself at that age. We worked well together. The business grew steadily. I hired 2 more people, expanded into the space next door. We weren't getting rich, but we were sustainable. And more importantly, I was happy. Genuinely happy in a way I couldn't remember being before. My mother noticed the change when we talked on the phone. "You sound different," she said one Sunday morning. "Lighter somehow." "I am lighter," I told her. "Mom, I'm doing what I was meant to do. Finally, I'm proud of you, sweetheart," she said softly. That made me cry, standing there in my garage office with blueprints spread across my desk. In the spring of my 3rd year running Phoenix Auto Restoration, something unexpected happened. A producer from a cable network that specialized in automotive content came into my shop. His name was Marcus Webb, a friendly guy in his early 50s with an infectious enthusiasm for classic cars. "I've been hearing about your work," he said, examining the 3 cars we had in various stages of restoration. "These are impressive. We're developing a new show concept, competition-style restoration program, but with a twist. We want to feature shops that have compelling stories. I'd like to pitch your shop for the show." I nearly dropped my wrench. "I'm sorry, what?" "The show would be called Restoration Masters. 6 shops compete over the season, each taking on a challenging restoration project. Viewers vote, experts judge, winner gets a cash prize and national exposure. A woman starting over in her 50s, building a successful business in a male-dominated field? That's exactly the kind of story that resonates with people." I laughed, overwhelmed. "Marcus, I don't know. Television? That's not really my thing. Think about it. This could take your business to a whole new level. Plus, the prize money is $50,000. Christina thought I should absolutely do it. "Boss, this is huge. Think about what this could mean for the business. For women in this industry. You could inspire people. You've given me an opportunity I never thought I'd have," she added quietly. "A woman willing to hire and mentor other women in this field. That matters, Samantha. People need to see that." Her words struck me hard. If me being on television could help change that, even a little. I called Marcus back. "Okay, let's do this." The production process was intense. There were contracts, interviews about my life story. They wanted to know everything: my childhood, my father's rejection, my divorce, my late career change. Filming began in August. Each shop would restore a vehicle over 8 weeks. Our project was a 1969 Dodge Charger that had been in a barn for 30 years. It needed a complete rebuild, and we'd have to do it while running our regular business and dealing with camera crews. It was exhausting. The cameras caught my frustrations, my problem solving, the moments when things went wrong, the week when our paint supplier sent the wrong color, the time Christina accidentally stripped a bolt, the countless late nights. But they also caught the good moments. The triumph when we got the engine running for the first time, the satisfaction of perfect bodywork, the camaraderie of our team working together. During one interview segment, the producer asked me about my father. "Does he know you're doing this?" "I honestly don't know. We're not in close contact." "What would you want to say to him if he was watching?" I thought for a long moment. I'd want to say that his disappointment was never really about me. It was about his own limitations, his inability to see past the world he grew up in. And I'd want him to know that I've built something I'm proud of, not to prove him wrong, but because it's who I was always meant to be, with or without his approval. Saying those words felt like releasing something I'd been holding for decades. The show aired in November, 2 years after that first auto restoration class. I gathered my team at the shop for a viewing party. We ordered pizza and watched nervously. Seeing myself on television was surreal. They'd edited my story beautifully, weaving together interviews about my childhood, footage of our work, and the growing pressure as the deadline approached. Over the 8 episodes, I watched our journey unfold on screen. They showed me teaching Christina complex techniques, They showed me at 3 in the morning, carefully working on a fender. They showed me crying in frustration when a part arrived damaged, then problem solving to find alternatives. The response was overwhelming. My social media accounts exploded with messages. Women of all ages telling me I'd inspired them. People sharing their own stories of starting over. Business inquiries flooded my email. My mother called after the first episode. "Samantha, I just watched. I'm so proud of you. The whole thing is beautiful. Thanks, Mom. How's Dad?" There was a pause. "He's watching. He hasn't said much, but he's watching every episode. I catch him rewinding parts, studying what you're doing." That information sat heavy in my chest. I didn't know what to do with it, so I focused on the competition. By episode 6, it was clear the race was between 3 shops. The finale aired right before Thanksgiving. All 6 shops presented their finished vehicles to expert judges and a live studio audience. Our Charger looked stunning. We'd restored it to its original Hemi-orange glory, rebuilt the engine to better than factory specifications. When we drove it onto the stage, I felt a surge of pride that had nothing to do with winning or losing. We'd taken something destroyed and made it magnificent. The host built up the suspense, announcing 3rd place, then 2nd. And the winner of Restoration Masters is Phoenix Auto Restoration. The shock was total. Christina screamed and hugged me. Confetti fell. The host handed me a check for $50,000 and asked how I felt. Grateful. So incredibly grateful. This money is going right back into the business, into creating more opportunities for people who love what we do. Later, backstage, I checked my phone. There were hundreds of messages, but one stood out. It was from my mother. "Your father wants to talk to you. Will you call when you can?" I stood there for a long time, staring at those words. Part of me wanted to ignore it, but another part felt ready. I stepped outside into the cool November night and dialed my parents' number. My father answered on the 2nd ring. "Samantha." His voice was thick, uncertain. "Hi, Dad." Silence stretched between us. "I watched your show," he finally said. "All of it. Every episode. Mom mentioned that. You're really good. Better than I ever was, probably. Your work on that Charger. I rewound that engine rebuild segment 3 times. The precision, the care you took. It's exceptional." I waited. "I was wrong," he continued. And now I could hear that he was crying. My father, who I'd never seen cry. "I was wrong about so many things. Wrong about what you could do. Wrong about who you could be. Wrong to make you feel like you weren't enough. You were always enough, Sam. More than enough. I was just too stupid and stubborn to see it." Tears rolled down my cheeks. "Dad, let me finish, please." He took a shaky breath. "I grew up in a time when people thought a certain way. That's not an excuse. It's just the truth. And instead of growing, I stayed stuck. I pushed away my own daughter because she didn't fit the picture I had in my head. Now I'm 78, watching you on television, watching you succeed at something I spent my whole life doing, and all I can think is how much time I wasted." I slid down the wall, sitting on the cold concrete. "I don't know if you can forgive me. I don't know if I deserve it, but I want you to know that I see you now. I see how strong you are, how talented, how you built something from nothing, the way you mentor Christina, the passion in your work. You're everything I could have wanted in a child, Sam. You always were. I was just too blind to recognize it. I forgive you." The words came out before I'd consciously decided to say them, but they were true. Not because what he'd done didn't hurt, but because holding on to that pain was like carrying stones, and I'd been doing it for too long. "I forgive you, Dad." We talked for another hour. He asked about the business, detailed questions about techniques and challenges. He told me stories about the old shop. He asked if maybe, sometime, I'd be willing to visit, to show him around Phoenix Auto Restoration. "I'd like that," I said. "Maybe at Christmas?" "I'd really like that too, Sam." When we hung up, I sat there processing everything, the win, the show, the conversation with my father. It felt like an ending and a beginning all at once. Christina found me. "Boss, you okay?" "Yeah." I stood up. "Yeah, I really am." "Good, because the team wants to celebrate." The next morning, my phone was flooded with press requests, podcast invitations, potential new clients. The $50,000 would let me expand the shop. There was talk of a 2nd season. But standing in my shop a week later, just me and the quiet hum of the space heaters, running my hand along a car waiting for restoration, I realized the external validation didn't matter as much as this feeling. The satisfaction of knowing I'd found my place, my purpose, that I'd taken the broken pieces of my life and built something whole and beautiful. My father had said I should have been a boy. For so long, I'd carried that as a condemnation. But now I understood that the problem was never me. It was his limited vision. And while I'd forgiven him, I no longer needed his approval to know my worth. I was Samantha Chen. I was 52 years old. I owned a successful restoration business. I'd won a national competition. I'd started over when most people would have given up. And every day, I got to do work that I loved, just like I'd done with my own life. The Mustang sat in the corner, the first car I'd ever fully restored. I walked over to it, grabbed my keys, opened the garage door, and took it for a drive through the Cincinnati streets. The engine purred perfectly. The winter sun caught the blue paint, and for the first time in my entire life, I felt completely, authentically myself. That was worth more than any television show, any prize money, any father's approval. Though I had to admit, having all of it together felt pretty damn good too. As I drove past the shop, I could see the Phoenix Auto Restoration sign. A phoenix rising, wings spread wide, made of automotive parts. It was exactly right. Something that had burned down and risen again, not despite the fire, but because of it. I smiled and headed toward home. Tomorrow, there would be more cars to restore, more challenges to face, more stories to write. But tonight, I was just going to sit with this feeling, this hard-won peace, this knowledge that I'd found my way home to myself, and that, more than anything else, was the real victory.